أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة من يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد ومن يعصهما فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا فقد قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي رب زدني علما سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم. My dear audiences and my dear friends, brothers and sisters and those who are watching through Facebook, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is a great pleasure for me to attend this Tafsirul Quran Mahfil, and at the commencement of the Tafsirul Quran Mahfil, I would like to express my deep gratitude to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the only one creator of everything, by saying Alhamdulillah, all praises are for Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, in today's Tafsirul Quran Mahfil, we shall have a discussion on verse number 37 from Suratu Bani Israel. Suratu Bani Israel is the surah number 17 from the Holy Qur'an, and we shall find this verse in part 15 of the Holy Qur'an. So as usual, at first we shall go to the recitation as well as meaning of this ayat number 37, verse number 37 from Suratu Bani Israel. Then inshallah ta'ala we shall go to the elaborate discussion. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تمشي في الأرض مرحا إنك لن تخرق الأرض ولن تبلغ الجبال طولا صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, Subhanallahil azim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin abdika wa rasulik. I seek refuge, I seek shelter to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the accursed devil, from the accursed shaitan, and I am beginning with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is most merciful, most beneficent. Wala tamshi fil ardi marha. Do not walk on the earth with pride. Do not walk on the earth with arrogance. Innaka lan takhriqal arda, innaka lan takhriqal arda wa lan tablughal jibala tula. Obviously, you cannot make hole on the earth towards the downwards, and you cannot go above the hill, above the mountains. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said the truth, and His prophets and messengers have also said the truth, and we are among the witnesses. All praises are for Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All praises are for Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the most merciful, most beneficent. This was the recitation as well as meaning of ayat number 37, verse number 37 from Suratu Bani Israel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed this holy book, this holy Qur'an, in order to give us direction, in order to show us way, how we shall lead our personal life, how we shall lead our family life, how we shall lead our social life, as well as how we shall lead our national life, state life. This holy book, holy Qur'an, has been revealed in order to guide us in all respects, in all aspects. In today's verse number 37 from Suratu Bani Israel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is directing us not to become arrogant. Arrogance, pride, it is an extreme disease of our society. If we have a look our surroundings on the four corner of our society, we shall find that arrogance, thinking oneself as superior to others, undue assumption of importance. Arrogance means undue assumption of importance. It means pride. So arrogance, it is an extreme disease of our society. And Islam, which is a complete code of life, Islam clearly prohibits arrogance, prideness. It is totally prohibited in Islam to become arrogant. Someone think themselves superior to others by power. Someone think themselves superior to others by asset, by wealth, by property. Islam does not allow anyone to be arrogant. And here in verse number 37, Suratu Bani Israel, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a nice example. An extraordinary example has been given to the human being in order to give up arrogance, in order to leave arrogance, in order to leave undue assumption of importance. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in verse number 37, don't move on the earth with pride. Don't move on the earth becoming arrogant. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving the example. Innaka lan takhriqal arda. You are walking on the earth with pride, becoming proud by virtue of power, by virtue of assets, by virtue of wealth. Are you empowered to make whole downwards the earth? Is it possible on behalf of mankind to make whole on the earth? And the answer is no. So why you are becoming arrogant? On the other hand, is it possible on behalf of the people to become higher than the mountain? And the answer is no. So Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving a nice example, an extraordinary example has been set up in verse number 37, Suratu Bani Israel. And people have been prohibited from becoming arrogant, from becoming proud. So being a Muslim, being an actual believer of Islam, it is obligatory as well as mandatory on our behalf not to become arrogant, not to become proud of anything. Now inshallah, we shall go with some relevant verse. Those are relevant in today's tafsir. Other verses from the Holy Quran, other ayat of other surah, those are relevant in today's tafsir. First relevant verse is verse number 34 from Suratu Baqarah. Suratu Baqarah, verse number 34. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. As we know, the jinn means, jinn is a creature of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not seen. It is not visible. And jinn have been created by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created jinn from fire. And as we know, Iblis Shaitan, who was with the angels, he used to stay with the angels. And whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam alayhi salam through earth, mud, from soil, Adam alayhi salam was created. And after creation of Adam alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked all the angels and the Iblis to prostrate, to make sajda of Adam alayhi salam. It was the prostrate of honor. It was the sajda of honor. In Arabic we say sajda-e-ta'zim. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the angels, the malaika, to make prostrate Adam alayhi salam, everyone carried out the order of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Iblis, he refused to carry out the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to prostrate, to make sajda of Adam. Why? He was arrogant. He thought, I have been created by fire, and fire used to go higher and higher. And this Adam has been created by mud, by soil, and soil used to go downwards. Since fire go upwards, I am superior to him. He became arrogant. And he refused to prostrate Adam alayhi salam. And in verse number 34, Suratu Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا, when I said, لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ, the angels, to make prostrate, to prostrate Adam alayhi salam, to make sajda of Adam alayhi salam. Everyone prostrated Adam alayhi salam except Iblis. Why? Aba wastakbar. Iblis was arrogant. He was proud, thinking that I am made of fire and fire used to go upwards. And Adam is made of earth, mud, and mud, earth used to go downwards. So I am superior to him. Nauzubillahi min zalik. So the devil refused to prostrate Adam alayhi salam because of being arrogant. And we know devil, Iblis, he was cursed by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of disobeying order of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We used to know that making partner with Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an heinous offense. Making partner, considering partner with Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely prohibited in Islam, which is being done by the Christians, by the Jews, by the Hindus, by the Buddhists, by the Qadianis, anyone other than Islam, anyone who used to worship any other religion other than Islam, they are making partner with Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But here we are finding that violating, disobeying order of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also amount to do kufri. Kufri means refusing Islam. Iblis Shaitan does not consider partner with Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he refused to obey order of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in not prostrating Adam alayhi salam. So, a public servant, you are a public servant. You are holding a big post, superior post of the government. Your name is Abdul Rahim Abdul Karim. When first call for Salah, prayer is given, you used to go to the first line of the mosque. But you used to take bribe. Without money, you do not sign any file. You are habituated in receiving bribe. You are earning money by unfair means. You are violating order of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because receiving and giving bribe is completely prohibited in Islam. Many of us, their name is Abdul Rahim Abdul Karim, they used to deal with the interest. Their business is related with interest. You are violating Islam. You are refusing Islam. So making partner with Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the non-believers of Islam is not only prohibited, but also a Muslim Disobeying order of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely prohibited in Islam. Being a Muslim, being a believer of Islam, it is mandatory, obligatory on our behalf to follow each and every order of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, in verse number 34 from Suratul Baqarah, the devil, Iblis Shaitan, became arrogant in not following order of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in prostrating, in making sajda to Adam alayhi salam. Our next relevant verse, Ayat, which is relevant in today's tafsir, is verse number 36 from Suratu Nisa. In verse number 36, Suratu Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Inna Allah la yuhibbu man kana mukhtalan fakhura. Obviously, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like those who are arrogant, who are proud. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like those who feel themselves superior. Verse number 36 from Surah An-Nisa. Inna Allah la yuhibbu man kana mukhtalan fakhura. So, being an actual believer of Islam, we shall never become arrogant. We shall never think ourselves higher, bigger, superior to others. An actual believer of Islam cannot determine, cannot consider himself superior to others. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is, earlier verse was verse number 36 from Surah An-Nisa, now verse number 173 from Surah An-Nisa. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَيُوَفِّيهِمْ أُجُورَهُمْ وَيَزِيدُهُمْ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ اسْتَنْكَفُوا وَاسْتَكْبَرُوا فَيُعَذِّبُهُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا وَلَا يَجِدُونَ لَهُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ وَلِيًّا وَلَا نَصِيرًا. Those who has brought faith in Islam, and after bringing faith, after bringing iman, they have done good deeds, they will be given due reward. Moreover, they will be given more and more reward by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the other hand, who are arrogant, who feel themselves superior, who assume themselves undue importance, that means who are proud, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that they will be given extreme punishment. And when they will be thrown on the fire, they will not find anyone to come to help them except Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So being a true believer of Islam, an actual believer of Islam, we must believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one creator of everything. And it is mandatory, obligatory on our behalf to follow each and every order of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala properly, duly. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 36 from Suratul Araf. In verse number 36, Suratul Araf, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَالَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَاسْتَكْبَرُوا عَنْهَا أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. As I said, arrogant means undue assumption of importance. One thinks himself superior to others. And here Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has defined the word arrogant, disbelieving Islam, And from as per this verse, and as per many verses from the Holy Quran, the non-believers of Islam are the arrogant because they are refusing Islam on the plea of their power, on the plea of their vast asset, abundance of assets. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَالَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَاسْتَكْبَرُوا. Whoever refused this holy book out of arrogance, they will be the inhabitants of fire, whum fiha khalidun, and they will remain there forever. So, in verse number 36, Suratu Araf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has declared non-believers of Islam as the arrogant, as the proud. So, rejecting Islam means becoming arrogant. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 22 from Suratu Nahl. In verse number 22, it is more clear. It is clearer. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Ilahukum ilahu wahid. فَالَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ مُنْكِرَةٌ وَهُمْ مُسْتَكْبِرُونَ. The main theme, the main substance, the main teachings of Islam is at-tawheedu. Oneness of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ma at-tawheedu. What is tawheed? At-tawheedu imanun bi ilahi wahid. Tawheed means keeping faith on only one creator, and He is Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, in verse number 22, Suratu Nahl, Ilahukum ilahu wahid. Your Lord is only one. فَالَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ مُنْكِرَةٌ وَهُمْ مُسْتَكْبِرُونَ. Those who are not bringing faith on oneness of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that means their heart are full of ill activities and they are arrogant. As I said earlier, he is an arrogant person. He is an arrogant who has refused Islam. So, as from the Holy Quran, the Christians, the Jews, the Hindus, the Buddhists, or Qadiani, or any person of any other religion other than Islam are the arrogant, because they have not yet accepted Islam. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 29 from Suratu Nahl. Earlier was verse number 22 from Suratu Nahl. Now is verse number 29. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, فَادْخُلُوا أَبْوَابَ جَهَنَّمَ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا فَلَبِئْسَ مَثْوَى الْمُتَكَبِّرِينَ. The non-believers of Islam will be thrown on the hellfire, on the fire. They will be thrown in the fire. Why? They are the arrogant. They are the person who have not accepted Islam. So, here arrogant means, proud means who have not yet accepted Islam. Verse number 29, it was Suratu Nahl. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 83 from Suratul Qasas. In verse number 83, Suratul Qasas, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, تِلْكَ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةُ تَجْعَلُهَا لِلَّذِينَ لَا يُرِيدُونَ عُلُوًّا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فَسَادًا وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying here that the inhabitants of heaven will be those who do not want to dominate in the society, who do not want to become famous. Nowadays, it has become a tradition. Everyone wants to be viral. Na'udzu billahi min zalik. Na'udzu billahi min zalik. Everyone wants to make dominion of his own in the society, in the state, in his locality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like this. An actual believer of Islam, a true believer of Islam, will never dominate, will never show off, to show his influence, to show his dominion, to show his power. And he will not make mischief in the society. He will not make fasad in the society, mischief, ill deeds. Nowadays, people want to become viral. Na'udzu billahi min zalik. A true Muslim will never want to become viral. He will want to become viral to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Being an actual believer of Islam, being a true Muslim, it should be our motive. It should be our aim. Only to satisfy only one, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we do this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased on us. And after doing everything for the pleasure of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what shall we do? وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. We shall wait for the result from the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the word arrogance, mutakabbirin, it is related in show off. People are doing many things in order to show people. A true Muslim will not do anything to make show, to show people. Show off will be avoided by a true Muslim. Because in Arabic it is said riya. If riya, show off, is expressed, you will not get any reward from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because in Sahih Hadith it has come, on the day of judgment, a martyred shaheed, he will be asked by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what you have done for me? He will say that I sacrificed my life for you, for your religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, no, you sacrificed your life in order to show people, in order to so that people say that you are a martyr. You have sacrificed for your life for Islam in order to get name and fame. He will be thrown on the hellfire. A people who is spent lot of money, he will be asked, what you have done? He will say, I spent vast wealth for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, no, you spent money in order to show people, in order to earn name and fame. He will also be thrown on the fire. So, in order to make dominion over the society, in order to make influence over the society, over the state, or over anywhere, it is completely prohibited in Islam. Islam does not allow this. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 18 from Suratu Luqman. As you know, Hazrat Luqman Hakim, he was one of the wisest man in the world at that time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him hikmah. Hikmah means deep knowledge of religion. And Hazrat Luqman Hakim, he came before Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam came. So Hazrat Luqman Hakim gave some advices to his son, and one of the advice is وَلَا تُصَعْوِرْ خَدَّكَ لِلنَّاسِ وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرُحًا. He is saying his son, "Oh my son, do not swell your cheek in front of people out of arrogance. Inna Allah la yuhibbu kulla mukhtalin fakhur." Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like the arrogance. So, becoming arrogant is completely prohibited in Islam. Many people of our surroundings, they think themselves that he is superior to others. Islam does not allow this. A true Muslim will never think himself superior to others. He will always think himself inferior to others, junior to others, smaller to others. Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, who was the most famous companion of our beloved Prophet and first Khalifa of Islam, he always thought himself smaller and smaller. And Islam guides us not to become arrogant, not to think ourselves superior to others. And Inna Allah la yuhibbu kulla mukhtalin fakhur. Hazrat Luqman Hakim is saying, his son, "Oh my son, don't become arrogant. Don't consider yourself superior to others. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like the arrogance." This was verse number 18 from Suratu Luqman. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 34 to 36 from Suratu Saffat. Suratu Saffat, verse number 34 to 36. Here Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, "Inna kadhalika naf'alu bil mujrimin. Innahum kanu idha qila lahum la ilaha illallah yastakbirun wa yaquluna inna latariku alihatina lisairim majnun." Allah subhanahu, when our beloved Prophet invited people towards the oneness of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, most of the non-believers of Islam rejected Islam by saying that Muhammad Sallallahu is a poet, Nauzubillahi min zalik. Muhammad Sallallahu is mad, Nauzubillahi min zalik. And they said, when the invitation of Tawheed was given to them, La ilaha illallah, there is no creator but Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they became arrogant. They said that on the statements of a man who is a poet and mad, Nauzubillah min zalik, we shall give up the gods, those who were worshipped by our forefathers and fathers. So, the non-believers of Islam rejected the invitation of Tawheed, rejected the invitation of oneness of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the ground of being arrogant. Many notorious non-believers of Islam, they knew that Islam is the right religion. And Hazrat Muhammad is the actual messenger of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But till then, they refused to accept Islam on the ground of being arrogant, on the ground of being proud. So, an actual believer of Islam will never be proud, will never be arrogant. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 60 from Suratu Zumar. In verse number 60, Suratu Zumar, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَيَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ تَرَى الَّذِينَ كَذَبُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ وُجُوهُهُمْ مُسْوَدَّةٌ. On the day of judgment, the face of the non-believer of Islam will be gloomy, will be black. أَلَيْسَ فِي جَهَنَّمَ مَثْوًى لِلْمُتَكَبِّرِينَ. The Jahannam, the hell, the fire is the address, is the home of the arrogance. That means the arrogance will be thrown in the fire. And here arrogance means non-believer of Islam. This was verse number 60 from Suratu Zumar. Next is verse number 72, Suratu Zumar. In verse number 72, Suratu Zumar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, قِيلَ دُخُلُوا أَبْوَابَ جَهَنَّمَ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا فَبِئْسَ مَثْوَى الْمُتَكَبِّرِينَ. The arrogance will be thrown in the hellfire, and hellfire is the worst house, worst place, worst dwelling place for the arrogance, for those who think themselves proud. Next relevant verse in today's tafsir is verse number 23 from Suratul Hadid. Suratul Hadid is verse number 57 from the Holy Qur'an. Here Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ كُلَّ مُخْتَالٍ فَخُورٍ. And arrogant is not liked by Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like the arrogance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like those who think themselves superior to others. Now inshallah we shall go with some relevant hadiths. Those are relevant in today's tafsir. عن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الكبر بطر الحق وغمط الناس رواه مسلم. What is arrogance? Arrogance means rejecting the truth and considering people nothing. That means who have denied Islam, who have rejected the oneness of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who have rejected the invitation of Tawheed, he is the arrogance. Rawahu Muslim. Next relevant hadith in today's tafsir is the people who are arrogant in our society, in our surrounding. What will be their fate on the day of judgment? In this hadith, our beloved Prophet is said, and Umar ibn Suwaib radiallahu anhu, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam قال يحشر المتكبرون أمثال الذر يوم القيامة. The people who consider themselves arrogance, the people who consider themselves superior to others, on the day of judgment, they will be gathered as ants. Rawahu Tirmizi. An ant, how smallest creation it is. And on the day of judgment, the arrogance, the people who think themselves proud, who think themselves higher, will be revived on the day of judgment as an ant. Rawahu Tirmizi. Next relevant hadith in today's tafsir is عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الكبرياء رداعي فمن نازعني رداعي قسمته رواه Abu Dawud, Ibn Majah. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying through this hadith by our beloved Prophet, feeling pride is the blanket of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will feel pride. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, it is my blanket. If anyone feels pride, if anyone thinks himself superior to others, that means he is pulling my blanket and I will destroy him. Rawahu Ibn Majah, Abu Dawud. So, it is very much prohibited in Islam to feel oneself bigger, larger, superior. And Islam does not allow anyone to feel pride, because it is the only Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who will feel pride and no one else. Because Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most powerful, is the creator of everything, and He is only entitled to become proud. Now inshallah, we shall pray to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before offering prayer, let us recite Durud. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, kama sallaita ala Ibrahim, wa ala ali Ibrahim, innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, kama barakta ala Ibrahim, wa ala ali Ibrahim, innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma amin. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم اللهم اغفر لحينا وميتنا وشاهدنا وغائبنا وصغيرنا وكبيرنا وذكرنا وأنثانا اللهم من أحييته منا فأحيه على الإسلام ومن توفيته منا فتوفه على الإيمان ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا رب هب لي من الصالحين رب زدني علما أستغفر الله اللهم إني أسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى والله. Some of your servants have been gathered here and we have discussed from your Holy Qur'an and Sahih Hadith. We have made many mistakes. Please forgive our all mistakes and accept this Tafsirul Mahfil. O Allah, forgive our all sins. O Allah, turn our sin into reward. O Allah, what is in our heart? You know what is in our heart. Fulfill our all good desires. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.